Welcome to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive. We are jumping straight into the current, let's say, highly optimistic trajectory of the England rugby team. We've compiled a stack of sources, including Mick Cleary's recent assessment, and the central question we're tackling today is this. Are England's high ambitions justified? Especially after their incredible Post-Autumn Nations series performance. Before we dive into the tactical meat of this, if you want more of this kind of in-depth analysis tailored from the best sources in the game, make sure you gain access to more content and insights by subscribing to Rugby Obsession now.
It is a genuinely exciting time for England supporters, and you're right, the sources paint a really compelling picture. I mean, for context, the key finding right now is that England is arguably in their best sustained shape since the legendary Clive Woodward era, the run-up to 2003.
Wow, that's a huge statement.
It is. They've banked an impressive 11 consecutive wins. That's their best streak since 2016. And that level of continuous winning, even when you're still developing, it just creates this invaluable momentum.
11 straight wins, yeah, that certainly turns heads. But the analysis we have suggests that not all wins are created equal, right? Cleary highlights a fascinating point. That tight 27-23 victory against Argentina, where they had to repel a huge fight back, was actually more significant for their development than the spectacular win over the All Blacks the week before. That seems a little counterintuitive on the surface.
It does, but that's the core insight we really need to focus on. Winning big and beautifully like they did against the All Blacks, that proves potential, sure. But the Argentina game tested something much more fundamental. Resilience. It forced them into what Cleary calls a squeaky bum problem-solving situation.
Right.
Those final 10 minutes when everything is on the line and the opposition is just throwing the kitchen sink at you, that's where true character is forged. It shows they can find spirit and trust when things are breaking down.
So let's unpack the significance of this spirit and momentum, because that seems to be what differentiates this squad. Against the Pumas, they weren't just running plays. They had to, what was the quote, toil and scrap and keep the faith. Why is that ability to win while you're visibly wobbling so critical?
Oh, it speaks volumes about psychological maturity. The source material is explicit on this. It says, just 12 months ago, when faced with that exact level of pressure, the team would have fallen and hit the turf.
They would have collapsed.
Completely. They just lacked the cohesion or, frankly, the fitness to ride out the storm. Now getting that result, even a messy one, it demonstrates that the psychological floor has risen significantly.
And it seems they're avoiding the trap of getting swept up in the hype themselves. Cleary talks about the internal environment, saying that despite the media, the bombastic pillocks, as he charmingly puts it, making these inflated claims, the camp is all about level-headed appraisal and commitment to continuous development. How are they managing that?
It's a deliberate culture setting. They know that winning 11 in a row doesn't mean they're suddenly the best team in the world. They're still tracking around third or fourth globally and probably still, a long, long way adrift of marker leaders. This self-awareness is the antidote to complacency.
That maturity has also reinforced a physical advantage. We noted the stat that England has turned Twickenham, the Alliance Stadium, back into a proper fortress during this run.
A huge factor. And that home advantage, that belief that you just don't lose in front of your fans, is an intangible but incredibly powerful asset. It feeds directly into their plan for the immediate future. I mean, the 2026 Six Nations schedule looks pretty reasonable for a side that's aiming to keep developing.
What's it looking like?
Well, they get those crucial home games against two massive rivals, Wales and Ireland, so that Twickenham Fortress mentality will be tested again. Then they're on the road to Murrayfield, which is always tough, and Italy and Rome. It all culminates in a Paris finale. It's a really balanced pathway. Enough pressure to keep them sharp, but not overwhelmingly difficult right out of the gate.
But if we're talking about the bigger plan, the highest ambitions, we have to talk about the global yardstick. We have to talk about South Africa.
Absolutely. The Springboks remain the massive structural hurdle. They're not just champions. The sources describe them as the marker leaders and a true demolition derby force. The assessment is pretty stark. If England can't find a consistent, repeatable way to counter the Boks' strengths, they can wave goodbye to having genuine World Cup ambitions.
And that's before you even factor in the genius on the opposing sideline. Rassie Erasmus is mentioned alongside names like Carwyn James or Bob Dwyer. This isn't just about beating a powerful team.
Exactly. It's smart force. Erasmus understands how to weaponize conditioning and substitutions better than anyone. He's built a system around maximizing the destructive capabilities of their forwards, which brings us to the critical area, the Achilles heel for England against them: scrummaging.
The scrum. It's their prime asset, their weapon of maximum destructive effect. We all have nightmares about the 2019 World Cup final, where those scrum frailties just cracked them open at the worst possible moment. So what's the tactical plan this time?
Well, England recognizes they can't just win a physical arm wrestle. They can't rely on summoning great slabs of meat, as the source puts it, because South Africa will just bring on fresh ones. So instead, the focus is pragmatic. They have to build a squadron of experienced, reliable front rowers. The strategy shifts from dominance to stability.
Okay, so how does reliability overcome overwhelming brute force?
It's about removing the penalty count. The Boks hunt penalties at the set piece. If England can maintain a legal, stable platform, they deny them that easy entry into the 22, the mauls, the momentum. It's all about technique, and it's demonstrated perfectly by that anecdote about Ellis Genge.
Yes, tell us about that. This seems to tie back to the character we were talking about.
It does. After facing some early infringements against the Pumas, Genge did the opposite of what you'd expect. He didn't resort to passive, safety-first scrummaging.
Yeah.
He doubled down and kept on pushing and probing. That is a massive mental shift. It shows a pack willing to take calculated risks.
And that ties directly into the depth they need, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Genge sets the tone, but you need the numbers to sustain it. Joe Hayes has proved his worth, and Ashurapoku Forgers stepped up impressively. They're building that stockpile because this isn't about the starters. It's about maintaining that technical proficiency through to minute 80.
This raises a really important question for you, the listener, and it's one we want you to consider. Does this strategy, this focus on technical reliability and squad depth, truly have what it takes to counter the sheer sustained power of the Springboks demolition derby? Can tactical nuance really overcome that kind of force? We'd love your thoughts on that. And we encourage you to subscribe to Rugby Obsession now for more positive discussions and analysis on these intricate paths to the top.
Shifting gears a bit, let's look at the internal health of the squad beyond the set piece. Specifically leadership, which has seen a huge positive change. A year ago, sources were suggesting a leadership vacuum, even with someone like Itoje holding the armband.
So what's changed there? Who's driving the bus now?
They are now rich in what the sources call genuine game shapers and mood setters all over the field. You have the obvious ones like Genge with his energy, George Ford's tactical brain, Ben Earl's engine, Elliot Daly's calm influence. But the most interesting evolution is Maro Itoje himself.
How has his role changed?
He seems to have transitioned from perhaps trying to be overly dominant to a quiet, measured leadership that seems to work well with this squad. His leadership now comes through his relentless performance, setting the standard and allowing others to thrive around him. The team's identity is just clearer, which is why they're closing out these tight games.
It's a distributed leadership model, which is always more robust. What's also fascinating is how a previous problem area, the midfield, has suddenly become a selection quandary of a good kind.
This is a classic sliding doors moment. Injuries to Seb Atkinson and Fraser Dingwall created an opportunity, and Max Ojomo, the Bath center, stepped up. The source material says he grabbed the opportunity with both hands. It's given the coaches a genuine but very good headache.
And what makes Ojomo such an exciting prospect?
He brings a different profile. The suggestion is a superb center partnership might be emerging with Ojomo at 12 and Ollie Lawrence at 13. Ojomo can provide the distribution and organization, which frees up Lawrence, one of the most powerful running 13s in the game, to just focus on breaking the line. It could be a fantastic combination.
And that partnership feeds right into what the modern game demands, doesn't it? I mean, we saw against the Pumas, all 3 tries were scored by backs. You have to feed those incredibly fast wingers.
Right. And if your center pairing can organize and distribute quickly, you maximize their impact. But this push for pace creates an interesting tension elsewhere, specifically at number 8. Ben Earl is noted as being very quick, a huge asset, but he lacks the sheer bulk of someone like Willis or most opposing 8s.
So the coaches are sacrificing some set-piece mass for more dynamic attack.
Precisely. It's a calculated trade-off. They clearly value Earl's pace and link play, believing the rest of the pack can compensate for his relative lack of size in the tight. It shows a real commitment to a high-tempo identity.
Okay, let's synthesize all this. What's the overarching message for England fans right now?
I think the core message is robustly positive. Supporters have every reason to be genuinely upbeat. The management is building depth, the team is fitter, psychologically harder, and they have this strong, identifiable leadership group. It all combines to let them close out games they absolutely would have dropped just 12 months ago. They're on a very good track for 2026.
And here's where we look to the horizon and where the strategic tension lies. The source material suggests 2026 is primarily for development, refining players, embedding systems, all with the true goal being a shot at going unbeaten in 2027.
That patience is key. It's a long cycle.
But given this phenomenal 11-game winning streak they're on, we have to ask, is waiting until 2027 too cautious? Are they risking losing this emotional wave by prioritizing a long, slow build? Or is that continuous, methodical development the only sustainable path to building a squad that can actually counter that overwhelming Springbok power when it really matters? It's great tension. Capitalizing on momentum versus preparing for dominance. Something for you, our listener, to really mull over.
A fantastic point for reflection. The next 18 months will definitely tell us which one prevails.
We hope you've thoroughly enjoyed this in-depth breakdown of England's promising trajectory. Please make sure to subscribe to Rugby Obsession for all the deep dives, analysis, and insights you need. Thank you for listening to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive, and we'll look forward to you listening to our next episode.